All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we'd like to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM,
YAHAWASHI,
Yahawashi, BAHASHAM,
BAHASHAM,
RAWCHAA. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth, and salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe, and the elect begins with 144,000. Yahawah, who the world ignorantly calls God and Jehovah, BAHASHAM is in the name. Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, the RAWCHAA, QADASH, the Holy Spirit. We're the brothers of the Great Millstone Chicago camp. I'm the brother I will let me join with.
It's the brother Ibadia.
This the brother Yahya.
Come back at you, brothers and sisters of the household of faith of the Hopeful Right Select with another lesson. And Lord willing, we hope this lesson be edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai. Once again, we hope this lesson is edifying. As you can see the title, man, it's a lot of, things going on, in prophecy, man, that's gearing up towards the end of this man's society, Esau Edom, man. How ultimately what, that everybody, it really started with Amalek, the ones that's proclaiming to be us, man. It's ultimately bringing everybody down towards the third world's war, man.
That's right.
Because ultimately it started off with what? It started out with Amalek and Ishmael. Ultimately, battling over what's that, the Gaza Strip. Ultimately Ishmael and Amalek battling back and forth. And ultimately what, you had the U.S. step in, you had, multiple different factions jumping in. As the scriptures say, if you can grab that real quick, I buy you the list of the flock.
Yes, sir. Got you right here, bro. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49 and verse 20. Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh, BAHASHAM Shai, that he hath taken against Edom, and the purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. It says, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them.
Right, the least of the flock shall draw them out. Talking about Amalek, man, because what? We know that Esau is the least of the nations, man. So Amalek is bringing everybody down towards this third war's war, man. You have Amalek ultimately, picking with everybody in the so-called Middle East, man. Because you have a lot of countries that's also allied with Russia. So what's going to happen? Everybody, all these different countries that Amalek is fucking with, that's allied with Russia, they're going to step in. And ultimately, you have the U.S., Babylon the Great, that's ultimately back in Israel. So they ultimately have to defend Israel. So ultimately, what? These two sides is ultimately going to come down, to the valley of Yahawashi, as the scripture said in Joel, the 3rd chapter, because of what Amalek is doing, man. Amalek is the one that's bringing everybody down towards this third war's war, man. And it's through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, putting the spirit on Amalek to ultimately what? To fuck with everybody. And then ultimately what? Since Russia is being a guard to these smaller countries, it's going to have what? America's going to jump in, Russia's going to jump in, followed by China. So it's going to be, everything is ultimately culminating in the third war's war, man.
That's right, bro. See, this is the purpose of the Most High God, Yahweh. All right,
Yep.
So the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, like the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will. So he's making the nations. He's stirring them up, man.
The Lord just gave me another one. If we can grab this real quick, I believe it's in Zephaniah, but I could be wrong. It talks about how to, Yahweh's going to gather them. Let me see if I'm probably putting two scriptures together. But to the day that I rise up to the prey, my determination is to gather the nations. The water Yahweh Shema Shai.
The water Yahweh Shema Shai. That's Zephaniah 3 and 8.
Yeah.
And it reads, therefore wait ye upon me, saith Yahweh, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy.
And right, that's what we're seeing right before our eyes, man. All these nations are being gathered up into the valley of Yahweh Shapah, which is the Yahweh's judgment, man. For Yahweh Shema Shai to judge them there. Because if you read books like what, Joel, the 3rd chapter, Revelations, what's that 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, talking about Yahweh Shai's return and ultimately Yahweh Shai, doing war with these nations, man. Ultimately, this is what everything is culminating in, man, the third war's war. And we know that this war, unlike these other wars, this war is going to be nuclear, man, And that's how the Lord is going to ultimately judge these other nations, man. It's going to culminate in America being 100% destroyed, man, by the way of that fire, that thermonuclear destruction. But the things that we're seeing right now, the Lord is putting the dominoes into place right now. That what the Lord is bringing all these different nations over there to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, man. So they ultimately is doing battle over there as we speak, man. Because as we know that World War III is essentially started already, man. But it's not going to get to those heights until what? The RFID chip comes to pass. that these different things come to pass, pertaining to the mark of the beast, man. Before World War III gets to that point.
You want to go to that article, bro?
Yeah, con.
All right, so this is from The Hill. It says Iran. It's entitled "Iran Attack Highlights Shadow War Triggers Fear of Wider Conflicts."
Mm-hmm.
All right, the massive Iranian attack on Israel over the weekend thrust the decades-long shadow war between the two countries out into the open. All right, highlighting a spiraling conflict that threatens to grow even more dangerous in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So look, it says Iran's brazen attack, which included some 300 ballistic and cruise missiles, along with explosive drones, was largely defeated by Israeli and allied defense systems. Nonetheless, Iran is becoming brazen. They have major firepower, man. 300 ballistic missiles, and we saw earlier when Iran had lit up the land of Israel, the country of Israel. I forget if that was earlier this year or last year, because time just be blurred.
It's had to be between the time frame between June and September, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
that time frame, if I'm not mistaken.
Con. So and it says in Revelation, who can make war with the beast? So this revived Roman Empire, America, Babylon the Great, and Israel and Europe, the beast system. Well, now it's let the weak say I am strong, man. The other nations are rised up.
Yep.
According to prophecy, it's ultimately going to end in the Third World War, and it's ultimately, like the brother said, going to end in thermonuclear destruction of America.
Can I get this?
You got it, Yahya.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And that's what we finna get in. That's what the bro's going into right now. Technically, the third world war has already started, but getting onto that way where people are already actually on the battlefield and missiles are getting tossed to and fro, man. That's the shaking of the earth. That's that this world is finna experience, man.
Right.
And I got
Isaiah 24.
Yeah,
it talks about that. You can grab it for the brother real quick, Ibaya, if you can.
I got it right here. This is Isaiah 24 and 20, or I'll begin at 19. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly.
Yep.
The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again.
Yeah, because he even talks about, what's that in Isaiah, the line of confusion? Because you're not going to know what Michigan from, you're not going to know what Illinois from Michigan is. You're not going to know what Florida from Indiana is, because ultimately America is going to be totally annihilated, man, But Salaki, Yahya, were you going to say something, Big Ark?
No, I was just going to say, how do you think that's going to happen, man? Through these ICBM missiles and all this other stuff that Esau has prepared.
Yep.
Right. What could actually cause the earth to shake and move like a back and forth like a drunkard, man? We've all seen these videos of the explosive power, the sheer power of like one nuclear missile, bro. And these nations have hundreds of them, man. It's all prophecy.
I forget what country it is. I believe it's Russia. They said one of their missiles can basically wipe out, all of Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
Come on, man.
Just one nuclear missile. So hey, the Lord is setting up this place for total annihilation, man. And since we read that Isaiah 24, brother can get Revelation 6, last few verses.
This is Revelation 6 and 12. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood.
Yep.
And the stars.
And talking about that great earthquake, as we read in Isaiah 24, man. Hey, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. How is that ultimately going to happen? By the way of these thermonuclear missiles, man. And that's going to be the climax of the Third World War, man. You're gonna have YAHAWASHI, ultimately what, sending the chariots, the angels to ultimately what, beam up the elect simultaneously, man, while the nukes is falling upon this place, Hey, so the day of the Lord, hey, because this ultimately is going to be the day of the Lord when the nukes is, destroying this place, mass death, man. Ultimately all this is going to take place because we know America is going to be destroyed in 1 hour, as the book of Revelation, the 18th chapter says, man.
1 hour, man. And again, like the brother said, how do you think that's going to happen? What else could it be besides nuclear missiles, nuclear destruction?
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, in Peter, it says that the elements shall melt with fervent heat.
Yep.
This wicked world is reserved for that day of fire, man, that day of judgment, the second death.
I got a precept.
Yes, sir.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 9 and verse 5. Isaiah 9 and 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire.
Perfect.
That's that fuel that they put inside the nukes, man, because the nukes are powered by some kind of fuel with the gunpowder, man. So and plus once that time comes, they're gonna be powered with the spirit of the Lord too, man. It's gonna have that fiery spirit that's to burn up everything. It says they not gonna break their ranks, they just gonna go where they meant to go, man.
Con.
Hey, could you read it one more time now? Isaiah 9 and 5.
Isaiah 9 and 5 again. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire.
Right, just to break down that first part too, because how ancient battles was ultimately fought back in the ancient world, what they used, the clash of shields, swords, but ultimately, since technology, your brother can grab that just you can grab that just to back the brother Yahya up. It talks about the Lord has created the smith to destroy, but ultimately the Lord has put it into these scientists' mind to ultimately what, to create an atom bomb. We seen that at Hiroshima and Nagasaki when a fat boy, a little man, was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, man. But this third war is what has to come up. The Lord is constantly, ultimately, what, advancing the technology that what, that this war is going to be a thermonuclear war. Prior to past battles you're seeing in the ancient world, different kingdoms fighting with shields, cannons, for an example, sword, different instruments of war. This war is going to be different from past wars before it, because what, this is a nuclear war. Ultimately, what, basically being fought with, as Second Esdras described it as, arrows, as Esdras seeing what, arrows, from one end of the earth, to the other end of the earth,
right.
So this war is going to be fought with what, missiles.
And like you just quoted in Second Esdras says, when the arrows get shot from one end of the earth to the other, that's from one continent to the Western hemisphere, man. What type of arrow can you possibly shoot from one end of the earth to the other, man?
Yep. I don't know if you brother seen the movie Terminator 3. We talk about Terminator 2 a lot, where Sarah Connor is ultimately, when the nukes are shot off, Sarah Connor turned into a skeleton from the radiation. But in Terminator 3, at the end of that movie, you see the atmosphere of the earth, and all you see is missiles being shot back and forth, to different land masses,
God, this Isaiah 54 and 16. And this is referring to, like the brother said, how the Lord put the spirit on those Germans, man, those Temanites, to create this technology. All right, I'm gonna just read it. It says, Isaiah 54 and 16, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy.
Right, and exactly right, man. Brother seen the movie Oppenheimer. I went to go see it with two brothers. Well, maybe like, what's that, 2 years ago that movie came out? And Oppenheimer was actually given visions to ultimately how to separate the atom.
Exactly.
So ultimately, YAHAWADAH put into these scientists' mind to create an instrument, which is actually the Lord's weapon. But the Lord has given these individuals, the scientists, that is, ultimately the information, and ultimately what, the equations, or however they do it, ultimately to split the atom, man. And this is the Heavenly Father's work, man. Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, giving these, mortal men, ultimately the knowledge to do something like this, man.
Right. He created the waster to destroy. He put that demon on him to go give him the insight of how to create that, man.
Yep. And what did Oppenheimer say? I become I forget how he said. I become the God, the destroyer of death, or something like that.
Yeah, become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Yeah, Khan, the water. You know, because that was the atomic bomb. How much more now? What's that? 60 years later, man. You know, 60, 70 years later, how much more so have these new these weapons ultimately upgraded, man? You know, going back to the scripture that brother Ibaya read, the Lord is constantly putting into these scientists, man, to ultimately to upgrade, you know, these nuclear missiles, man.
I got this image, bro. I'm gonna pull it up real quick. It says, all right, it's tweaking, but let me just zoom in. It says, J. Robert Oppenheimer, father of the atomic bomb, after witnessing the first test, and he was quoted. He said, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Yeah, because you seen the damage the atomic bomb did to what was that Ammon, you know, the destruction that ultimately did to Ammon, man, you know, which is the so-called Japanese, and ultimately how even to this day, man, they're still recovering, man, they're still fucked up. So how much more the nuclear arsenal today, man?
Okay.
And it's all in the Bible, man. It's all straight out the scriptures.
Yep.
Clear as day.
I actually got a quick one. I don't think we finished that Revelation 6, but I do got a quick one for you, brothers, if I may. Because we had quoted there earlier. This is the book of Joel 3 and verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. It says, prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. You know, talking about the armies of the world, man. The Lord is ultimately bringing these different nations down to do battle, man. You know, just a quick testimony real quick. And just to say something real quick, man. You know, you have a lot. If you ultimately go over there to the so-called Middle East, man, you're not coming back alive, man, when this thing really heats up, man. You know, because it was just somebody at my job, right? You know, it was a Issachar I was talking to. This had to have been about 2 years ago. He said he finna go join the Navy. And I'm thinking in the back of my mouth, you know, shit, you know, things are escalating over there in the Middle East. You know, I was just basically saying it without saying it. He said, man, it's going to be an adventure. It's going to be fun. A lot of these people taking it for games, man. But ultimately, when you go over there to the so-called Middle East, man, you're not coming back alive, man. You know? And just to continue it out, verse 10, it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I'm strong, because what? These smaller countries have nuclear capability now, man. Especially the ones that's ultimately saddled with Russia. You know, Russia is arming these different smaller countries with nuclear capability, man. I believe it talks about that in Ezekiel 38. It's a 38, con. Ezekiel 38. Now Russia's going to be a guard to these smaller to its allies, man. You know, Russia is supplying these smaller countries with nuclear capabilities. You know, things like that. Russia is ultimately being a guard to these smaller nations. You know, so ultimately America just can't go around, and Israel just can't go around, even though Israel is doing it, because it's prophecies that's we just read that the least of the flock shall draw them out. But ultimately America just can't, you know, really just, you know, go along and just bully these other countries as they used to before, man. You know, because what? You know, you have Russia, you have China, you know, ultimately, you know, Russia being a guard to these small nations, right? And it says, verse 11, assemble yourselves and come all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about, thither, because thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahawah. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of YAHAWASHI, which is, you know, Yahweh's judgment. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. And right, that's what ultimately what's going to happen, man. The Lord is coming back to do, you know, a mass death, man. You know, and those military troops that's ultimately going to go over there, man, the ones that do survive, man, they're going to ultimately have to fight YAHAWASHI upon his second return, man. You know, you're going to have a lot of death from these nations fighting back and forth with one another. And then you're going to have YAHAWASHI making his second return to ultimately utterly destroy these different nations, man. You know, that's over there in the valley of YAHAWASHI. And ultimately, World War III is going to culminate, as we were just talking about, man, thermonuclear destruction.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Look at this, man. From Fox News, Iran at full-scale war with U.S. and allies. Iran's president declares. Okay, let the heathen be wakened, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it said in Ecclesiastes, there's a time of peace, there's a time of war, man. This is it. This is the time of war.
I got one. This is Isaiah chapter 14 and also chapter 9. You had quoted it earlier. How about it? This is the book of Isaiah 14 and 9. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they that shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. So America has become as weak as these other nations because these other nations have become these other nations now have nukes, and they now have the technology and the weaponry and all this stuff to defend themselves from America, man. America can't go around being that big bully anymore and just pushing, shoving people over because now the other nations to hit the gym, man. That's big. They listen the same amount of weights as America now, man.
Yeah, they all swole now.
Right. Verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. And that's America in its pride, man. You know, the whole space war, man. They said, oh yeah, we going to the moon. Whole time that everything was fake, but that's besides the point. But the America is weak, man. It's America's finished. America's finished. It's finished. It's not as strong as it once was, man.
Yep.
Yeah, that's that Obadiah too that we got on deck, man. You had something?
No, bring out whatever you got. I'm gonna go after you.
All right, I'm gonna just go to precept what Yahya just read. Obadiah 1:1, the vision of Obadiah. Thus say the Lord Yahweh concerning Edom. All right, so-called white man, chiefly America and the secular state of Israel. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, an ambassador sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. That's what we're seeing. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. So all the nations hating the whore, man.
Yep.
The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground?
Right. Talking about Esau's pride, man. Because Esau been in power for so long, because he even talks about America's that hammer of the whole earth.
Yep.
You know, America has been oppressing the world for so long. And because even in the scripture of Revelation said, who can make war with the beast, man?
Yep.
America, you know, the so-called white man, you know, who's actually is ruling America, no, the whole world that is, he's been at the top for so long. He's been destroying nations for so long. He has this mindset, you know, really, who can bring me down, man? You know, I'm the best of the best, the best to ever do it, man. This is the so-called white man's mindset, man. America has been oppressing, stealing resources. What's that? America just stole some oil from Venezuela, man. You know, ultimately nobody can stand up to this damn, you know, to this damn devil. But ultimately, what the Lord is ultimately, you know, giving these smaller nations, you know, ultimately what nuclear capability, man. You know, ultimately America can't. It's not that big bully as it used to be, man. You know, as the brother Yahya said, man. Everybody hitting the gym.
Come on, bro. Western hegemony is over with, you know, and these nations think that they're gonna rule the earth next. You know, Russia, China, these other superpowers, the BRICS. But we understand that that's not what prophecy says, because I was gonna cut it short with this RFID microchip and this Third World War.
Yep.
Verse 4: Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars. Right. So America's symbol, not just America, but what? Rome was the eagle. Greece was the eagle. This is an Edomite symbol that you can identify the Edomites, man.
Yep.
It says, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, like Yahya mentioned, you know, space programs, they've got all their satellites up there, right? They set their nest among the stars. Then,
right. Also, like, yeah, but they even got that what they will call, or a coin. They have a what's that? A space force? Like, what the fuck would you need a space force for? You know, because ultimately it's only one thing that they have a space force for. It's ultimately to fight against the Lord.
Exactly.
You know, Yahawashi is ultimately to negate Yahawashi's second coming, man. That's the reason why they got a space force.
Khan, it says, "From thence will I bring thee down," saith Yahweh.
Right, and ever since, you know, they went up into space, you know, put their satellites up into the heavens, man. That's when Yahweh Shah started to bring them down, man. Because in that same, I believe around the same time, 69, 70 is when the truth came out, man. You know, Abba Gibbons, and ultimately, ever since then, America has been losing its credibility, man, little by little. Hey, a lot now.
Khan. And we see, man, it just matches up to the scriptures of the Holy Bible to a T, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like the brother said, once they claim that they went up to the moon, then that's the same time that the truth came out, you know.
Yeah.
The prophet Elijah coming back.
Mm-hmm. It talks about
it's
that
over with.
Before the dreadful and what's that? The dreadful day of the Lord. The Lord is going to send a lot of prophet. Yeah, Malachi. Yep. You know, and we're approaching the dreadful day of the Lord, man. You know.
Because he had to send Elijah back in order to so that the elect could learn the truth, call upon the names of Yahweh Shai, and ultimately get saved, because the elect is not going to feel the second death, man.
Yep.
But these nations, these heathen, and these 2/3, which are also like heathen, they're going to feel that that second death, man.
Yep. You had some more to that Obadiah, I buy you.
Yeah, I'm gonna just hit verse 8 or verse 7 real quick. It says, "All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border." So America's allies turning on them. "The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is none understanding in him."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so everybody's going to turn on America as it's happening right now, man, because you got this guy, Donald Trump, right, that's speaking bad about his own allies, man. You know, he's speaking bad about NATO, you know, the European Union, you know, ultimately saying that. I feel like, you know, my Donald Trump, I feel like these guys are not doing a good job, you know. It's ultimately causing his own allies just to turn their back against this place, man, you know. Because it even talks about, you know, America being more stout than his fellows.
It's the spirit. I was thinking that too. The little horn.
What's that, Daniels?
Yes, sir. Daniel 7 and 20. Or 19. "And I would know the truth of the fourth beast," because the fourth beast is the Roman Empire, which we are in the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire is still ruling on the planet Earth, but it's been revived.
Yep.
You know, by the way of the Renaissance and ultimately Great Britain and America.
Yep.
You know, America came out of Great Britain, and so did the secular state of Israel as well. So so like it says, "Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of them which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that."
The 3 is the French, the Spanish, and the British.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because, you know, America, you know, just some little backdrop real quick. America started off as 13 colonies, you know, through the French-American War, the British-American War, and what else? The Spanish-American War. America acquired all this land.
It says, right, so, "And before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows."
Yeah, whose look was more stout than his fellows. You want to know what remind me of that lesson we did probably like a month ago? Yes, we are the ones.
Yeah,
exactly. The guy's name.
Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller. We're the ones that built this place. We are the ones, you know.
Right.
That's a great example of being stout, man.
More stout than his fellows.
Yep.
Because the Europeans don't really talk like that, man, at all. They're more like diplomatic. They're like, "Oh, we're going to send the ambassador and talk to you." But Trump's like, he just doesn't give a fuck, man.
Yeah. That's that Edomite spirit, man.
The mouth that spake very great things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Stephen Miller said, is basically everything good in the world is due to us.
Yeah, everything bad. He should have said the opposite. The reason why everything bad is because of us, man. Because everything this devil touches, man, it ultimately goes to complete shit. You know, that's why the world is in the state that the state that it's in right now. That's why the world is experiencing all these wars right now. It's through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI. But you know, it's a particular people that's on the planet Earth today that's ultimately, you know, fulfilling what this the will of spiritual demon Satan, man. You know, on the left hand side. You know, that's doing all these things within the earth, man. You know?
In the Psalms, it says they are continually gathered for war.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And, yeah, man. Slide, I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry, bring it back up.
Verse 21. Oh, yeah, because Elder Yashawamba went into it as well, right? Because the Edomite Roman Empire is divided itself, because the Americans look at it as, oh, we came over here and we did all the dirty work. We did all the slaughter and the oppression and the slavery, and we built this shit up. So now you're profiting off of it, off of what we did. And then the Europeans are like, oh, the Americans are proud. You really came from us. You guys are stupid. You have no culture.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all divided, man.
Yep. Hey, just like during the time of the Greeks, man, when what was that, Alexander the Great, ultimately, you know, he was 12, 13 years when he reigned, and then before he died, his generals ultimately was infighting against each other, man. Hey, the same thing is happening right now, man. You know, they're ultimately infighting, you know, trying to get the leg up over one another.
This verse 21, Daniel 7:21, and I beheld, and that same horn, America, made war with the saints and prevailed against them.
Yeah, you know, ultimately what? When we came over here in captivity, man, you know, ultimately, you know, these Edomites ultimately subdued us, man. You know, brought us into captivity, beat our nationality, our heritage out of us, man. You know, they ultimately they destroyed us as a people, man. What's that? Psalms the 83rd chapter. You know, Confederate against them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then ultimately mentioned Esau several times, man. It says Edom, Amalek. You know,
right. And in Revelation, it says that the whore was made drunk by the blood of the saints.
Yeah,
that's the Negroes and the Latinos and the Native Americans and the Israelites, man.
That's right. And the Lord is doing all this for his people, man. You know, the Lord is ultimately what? It's scripture says, you know, he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of my eye. You know, the scripture we read in Zephaniah earlier, my determination is to gather the nations, man. You know, YAHAWASHI is going to give a recompense for what, you know, the nation of Edom, especially, hey, all these other nations have done to his people, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, and the third world's war is going to be the start of that. We see the judgment going out right now, but that mass judgment is going to come down. What? World War III happened, Esau loses his kingdom, and he's ultimately going to be dragged into captivity, man.
Yep, it says it right here, verse 22, until the Ancient of Days come, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possess the kingdom.
Yeah, scripture says, hey, for the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, possess the kingdom, even forever and ever. Hey, 2 Ezra 6 says what? For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, man. You know, so we're at the end of Esau's kingdom, and World War III is going to be a wrap for Esau's kingdom, man. The Lord YAHAWASHI is going to put a big bow upon it. You know, when you finish something, man, and you put your initials on it, when you finish something, you know, that's what the Lord is going to do to this place, man. You know, a job well done. You sign your initials, because we're really at the end credits. You know, you watch a movie, you know, you just sitting through the end credits, man. That's what essentially where we're at right now in prophecy, man. You know,
we're at the final scene.
We're at the final scene, exactly right. The rise in action, and we're ultimately what? And it's a thing called the rise in action. If you're into like film playing things like that, it's a thing called rise in action and falling action, man. As we approach the final scene of the movie, you know, and that's where we're at right now in prophecy, man. Did we ever finish that Revelation 6 by chance?
I got it.
Come.
Revelation 6:13, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, and she is shaken of a mighty wind.
Right. So when John the Revelator on the island of Patmos, received the vision, he ultimately seen the missiles as stars. That's how he pictured it, man. Because technology, and we know more than the prophets back then. This is how John the Revelator was looking at it back then, man. He looked at it as stars, because when you look at a missile going to the atmosphere, it literally looks like a star coming down, man.
Right.
As it glows and as it get closer, man. That's how the John the Revelator ultimately seen it, man.
Same here in verse 14, how he described it.
Yep.
It says, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together.
Right. Talking about that mushroom cloud.
It looks like a scroll.
Yep.
In the sky, man. And it says, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places.
Right. Going back to the great earthquake, I believe Yahya had brought it out first. That's how ultimately what's was going to cause that great earthquake. The amount of missiles that's going to be shot upon this place, man. That's why, a quick side note, that's why Isaiah 26, coming to our chambers until the indignation be overpassed, because so many missiles is going to hit America that the whole earth is going to be fucked up, man. America's going to be 100% destroyed, but you're going to have other places that's going to be hit with radiation, that's going to be hit with tsunamis, that's going to have, going to have this massive earthquake, man. Certain parts of the earth is going to be fucked up, man. From the fallout. Yeah, nuclear fallout. That's a great example of that, So ultimately, when World War III culminates, man, YAHAWASHI makes his second return, the nukes get shot upon, America's going to be 100% destroyed. Israel is going to be destroyed, but unlike America, Israel is going to be rebuilt up, by ultimately what? When we put these heathens in captivity, they're going to build up the kingdom of heaven. But America is going to be 100% destroyed, man. And ultimately, the earth is going to be fucked up. And that's where you get Revelations 21, from when it talks about, I have seen New Jerusalem coming out from heaven. Because ultimately, what? The Lord, starting with YAHAWASHI, the elect is going to fix up this place, man. The first job of these heathens is going to be burying the dead bodies. It talks about continual employment, man. The elite's first job is what? It's going to be to bury the dead bodies across this world. And ultimately, what? We're going to get this world back in order, man.
That's right. It says it right here in 2nd Ezra 14. Oh, I believe it was in 13. He said he's going to set them in order that remain.
Mm-hmm.
I got something while you getting that.
Bro.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 10, and I'll start at verse 4. I'll start at 3. Sirach 10 and 3. And unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable, which is YAHAWASHI, man.
Mm-hmm.
Over this earth, and King David, he gonna put him on the throne.
Yep. Hey, can you go to verse 8?
Yeah, I was gonna do that. Skipping to 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another.
Yep. And we're seeing the translation of kingdoms right now, man. As I had quoted the scripture earlier, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, man. Hey, it's the Lord that ultimately raises up kingdoms and put kingdoms down, man. And the exception for the nation of Israel, man, our kingdom is going to be everlasting, man. Prior to these kingdoms that ruled before that rose up and ultimately went down. We're a kingdom that's never going to go down, man.
This 2nd Ezra 13 and 26 talking about YAHAWASHI, man, because Yahweh, the Most High God, is going to use his son to do this, man. To set the earth in order, to deliver his elect, and to ultimately establish order back. That's what it says in Sirach, man. In due time, he will set one that is profitable. So 2nd Ezra 13:26, the same as he whom God hath the highest hath kept a great season, which by his own self shall deliver his creature, and he shall order them that are left behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that by you.
Yeah, man. So everything is finally going to be set back in order, in equity, which equity means that the sons of God, those who for whose sake the world was made are going to be placed back into their position. Because right now the earth is ruled by the basis of men.
Yeah.
All right, to show what a wicked kingdom looks like, and we're getting a firsthand view of what that looks like, and it's not profitable.
I buy it. May I back you up? If you can grab me Romans 8, how it talks about the the creature waited for the manifestation of the sons of God, or creation waited for the manifestation of the sons of God.
This is Romans 8 and 18. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us.
Right, and that's going to come to the elect, man. Hey, the nation of Israel, when the 2/3 get implemented, ultimately back in the kingdom also. But for Israel, man, hey, everything that we have been going through is nothing going to be compared to what YAHAWASHI is going to give us, man. Because in I believe it's John, it says, I have not seen nor ear heard what YAHAWASHI, have for them that loveth him. Loosely paraphrasing.
Verse 19, for the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God.
All right, and creation as a whole is waiting for a righteous rulership, man. Because if you just look at the world today, man, everything is dying. Everything just looks so depressed. You look at the flowers, you look at the trees. You got the trees ultimately in captivity, man. Concrete built around it, man. You got birds falling out the sky. I believe it talks about it in Hosea too, man. Even the fishes shall be taken away, or something along those lines, man.
Yep.
Everything is dying. Everything is depressed. We're breathing in poison. We're eating poison. So everything that we're seeing right now is a means to an end, man. YAHAWASHI is making big chess moves to take this devil out of power. And with these different nations battling against each other, it's ultimately what? This is a big sign that YAHAWASHI is ready to take this devil out of power, man. World War III is the true war to end all wars, man. For the establishment of the kingdom of heaven and righteous rulership to be upon this planet, man.
Yeah, it says the nation shall not learn war anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, you got something, Mike?
I got this real quick.
Okay.
This is Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2. Proverbs 29 and 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear through, the people mourn. And that's what we're seeing right now. Everybody is in mourning, man. Everybody is either depressed, sad, mad, or crazy, man. This kingdom has nothing good to offer, and that's why the Lord is going to come back and set up a righteous kingdom, man.
Mm-hmm.
This just to back you up, this Revelation 11:18. I'm gonna just start at 17, saying, "We give thee thanks, O Yahweh, Bashem God Almighty, which art and was and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth."
Yep, destroy them which destroy the earth, man. And everything has been destroyed by Esau Edom, man. Hey, the relationships between man and woman, the nuclear family. You got freaks walking around us every single day, man. We're breathing in poison. We're always sick. Food is not real. Water is fucking contaminated. It's fluoride that we're drinking. Hey, women are not natural no more, man. Men are homosexuals, man. Everything that we're seeing right now is ultimately what? It counters, everything that YAHAWASHI ultimately, set up, man. In its rightful order. And everything is just out of order right now, man.
The turning of things upside down should be esteemed in the pot.
Yep. It's over with.
I actually got one for you, brothers. If I may, quoted it earlier. This is the book of Revelations 21 and verse 1. I'm going to just read down. Revelations 21 and 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And if you're in the blue letter, you can get that word new. I believe it goes into kainos, which means refresh.
Yes, sir.
The Lord is.
It's like it. I got it.
Okay.
Okay. It says kainos, new, as respects to form, it says recently made, but really it's going into what? Recent, unused, unworn, of a new kind, unprecedented,
Yep.
novel, uncommon, unheard of.
Right. So essentially, the Lord is coming back with a refreshing, man. The Lord is ultimately coming back with a reset. You know, everything that we're currently seeing right now, this is going to be a thing of the past, man. This current life that we're, how can I say in a way that makes sense? Everything that we know, the American way, man. You know how things are lived, man, and the way that people live, man, it's going to be changed, man. You know, we're going to go back to the ways of old, man. The Lord is bringing back a refreshing, man. Righteous rulership is going to be on the earth, man. Hey, this wicked rulership that we're currently seeing is going to be a thing of the past. So Revelations 21:1, it says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth will pass away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, this is John the Revelator, and I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Yahawah out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Right? Because ultimately the elect is going to come down from that fathership, man, and ultimately what? Start instituting righteousness across the planet Earth, man. You know? And ultimately what? That first 1,000 years, man, is getting this earth back in order, man. You know, establishing of the kingdom, you know, putting these heathens into subjection, man, cleaning this earth up, man. Because it's not going to be a one-day process, man. You know, America is destroyed, you know, and things to go back to normal just like that. It's going to be a process, man. How everything is going to be set up in order, man. You know? And it reads, verse 3, it says, and I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of Yahweh is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Yahweh himself shall be with them and be their power, right? Because even YAHAWASHI is going to be on the planet Earth, man, you know, ruling, man, you know, because this is YAHAWASHI's kingdom, man. It's going to be what, you know, ultimately built up on the planet Earth, man, you know?
It's his earth.
Yep, his earth, yep. And by default, it's the kingdom of Israel, you know? And it says, verse 4, and Yahweh shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall not be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. You know, because the side note, because the nation of Israel is going to be immortal, man. You know, everything that we're currently seeing right now, being in this corruptible flesh, man, we're going to be changed, man. No longer how we have to, you know, go through this everyday life, being depressed, being sick, you know, being sad. Hey, all that's going to be a thing of the past, man. We're going to be immortal. We're going to have our families, man. We're not going to die anymore. Verse 5, and he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I will make all things new. And he said unto me, right, for these words are true and faithful. Right, it says, I make all things new, man. That's what the YAHAWASHI is coming back to do, man. And it starts with what? You know, this devil being taken out of power, these heathens being put under total subjection. You know, the Lord, you know, using World War III as a catalyst to ultimately destroy this place, man. The nations turning against this place to destroy it, man. Everything that we're currently seeing right now is leading down what? You know, that pathway of righteousness, man. The Lord is going to vacuum, because it talks about what? The beast of destruction, man.
Yep.
You know, the Lord is going to vacuum this place, man.
Sweep it.
Yep.
You still going in that Rev 21, bro?
That was pretty much the point. Brothers got any last priests? I got to make a run in a second.
Yeah, you got some, bro?
Allah.
Okay, this is Isaiah 14:23. I mean, we were just in Isaiah 14, so it says, I'm just start at 21. It says, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities.
Mm-hmm.
So Esau is going to be cut off, man. It tells you that in Obadiah as well. It says, for I will rise up against them, saith Yahweh of hosts, cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith the Lord. I will also make it a possession for the bittern and pools of water, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, saith Yahweh of hosts.
Right, the besom of destruction, man. So the Lord, you know how you see a nuclear missile or a bomb go off and you just see like the shit just spreading, and it's ultimately cleaning everything in its path, man. Hey, Malachi 4 says the day coming, thou shalt burn as an oven, man. You know, the elements is going to consume, man. You know, the Lord is ultimately going to consume this place, man. And everything that we know about America is going to be destroyed, man. You know, we talked about the lines of confusion earlier, man. You're not going to know what Michigan from Chicago is. You're not going to know from New York from California, man. You know, all this shit, the Lord is going to just vacuum this shit, man, in 1 hour, as the book of Revelations 18 says, man.
Yeah, the land is going to be cleansed because fire is cleansing, man.
Yep.
I got one real quick.
Count down.
Psalm 46:6. And this is like the summary of the whole end of the movie. The heathen raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted.
Perfect.
So there you go, man.
Yeah, and everything we're seeing right now, man, is a catalyst. You know, hey, everything we're leading to World War III, man, is a catalyst. It's going to destroy this place, man. Thermonuclear war. Hey, America's going to be a thing of the past. Hey, and everything, you know, after that, man, is, man, righteousness. You know? But if Jake ain't have anything, I can close us out.
No.
So with that being said, I hope we hope this lesson was edifying. We'll end up bringing all praise and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWADAH, BAHASHAM, QADASH. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of great millstone that taught us the truth, and salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. Lord, we hope this lesson was edifying. We hope this lesson was edifying. Till next time, YASHARAHLA, Shalom, the Baba Ball.
All the ball.
Shalom.
Shalom.